Here I'm actually showing a wall which I've taken the wallpaper out of. I actually patched the wall. You can see the white spots here. I put a lot of spackle in the areas which had voids in it. I sanded it multiple times. I cleaned it with water. Every time you sand it, you need to clean it with water. And I've gone over it several times. You want to make sure you get a really smooth surface if you want to paint it. And this had wallpaper on it, and there's a glue residue here which I sanded down and made smooth. I'm going to have to do the same thing for the bottom here. It's kind of rough. I start with 50 grit sandpaper on this. I generally go in this motion. Then I sand. I start from the top. I go in a circular motion all the way to the end, then come down in the next row, and so on and so forth, and I go back and forth. I've done that many times. I still need to continue doing that. I think I'm done with the spackling part. On the next job, I'll show you how to fill in, but you're always touching and feeling it to make sure that the voids are not voids. You want to fill the voids, otherwise you'll see it after you apply the paint. I'll do the top first and then I'll go lower. If you have a sander, electric sander, this goes a lot faster. I do have an electric sander, but it does not have 50 grit. I start out with a 50 grit sandpaper. I'll move up to probably 80 and then 100 or 120. But I'm starting out with the 50, so I'm doing it by hand. If you look down here, I've already placed cloth to catch all this sanding dust that comes down. I haven't taped any of this. It'd be a good idea to tape it down, but in my case, I need to. The carpet is not that great, so I can vacuum it in areas where it's gotten to the carpet. And so you can see you have to kind of cover the area first. It's always good to empty out the room, otherwise you'll have dust and a lot of things in the room. You can already see my clothing, it's full of dust. To sand this, the grit is probably 80 or 100 on this one. I'm going to go all over this with the sanding. So after you're done sanding, you want to see if there are any imperfections, dips, craters. You can see here this area needs to be filled in a little bit with spackle. This area also. You're looking for cracks on the wall, little cracks. You're looking for dips, and the only way to find them is to run your hands over them. That's how I find them. I thought I'd done a good job on this, but I did find a lot of craters and dips that I have to fill in. One area I'm going to show you right now. So these areas right here, I can run my fingers through this, and there's a lot of dips and craters in here. I have to go ahead and fill this. There's also areas where the ceiling and the wall meet. There's a lot of imperfections you can see. This is where I have to do a lot of filling in too. I can put my fingers and I can almost feel it all the way through. So this area needs filling in, and then a little bit of sanding. And that's the case all over the wall right here. So here on the wall, I've done my second primer coat, and I put masking tape in several areas where I noticed issues. I'm going to have to put some spackling in those areas and try to smooth it out and sand it. Maybe put primer one more time, because I see imperfections, maybe a little bit of a crater in there, something I didn't pick up when I was doing this before. But my goal is to, after the second primer coat, try to fix these areas so the wall would look almost perfect. I'm a perfectionist. You may not have to do this if you don't think it's necessary, but I like to have it look good. It's kind of hard to see these on camera. I try to focus in on some of these areas, but it's really hard to see this. And that's why I can't show you this right now, but I'll put some pictures in the video that'll show you exactly what that looks like. I'm actually using the joint compound to actually fill in the cracks and the holes. Since this can is pretty big here, I'm gonna actually put this in a little cup, use a little spatula, and that's how I apply it, so that you're not drying out the compound by opening the can. You want to apply it so that you fill in the holes and then you smooth it out with the spatula and you pull off the excess. You don't want to leave the excess in there. Of course, you'll have to sand this after you're done. Here I have a wall that I was working on. I actually put the first coat of primer on it. Remember I mentioned before that you have to fill in all the dips and cracks and everything with spackle, sand it a few times, and then wash the whole wall before you prime it. Now after I primed it, I found a few more areas that I can see visibly that have issues. That's the area that needs maybe a little more spackle and then a little bit of slight sanding. I can feel the irregularity in this area. This is another imperfection that needs to be filled with spackle. Before you start painting any wall, you gotta fix cracks, holes, gouges, dips. You can see the white spots where I put spackle on that wall there, and I go off to the right. I found a lot of cracks in the wall here, which I fixed with spackle. You have to do that for all the walls here before you even consider painting it. If you don't do that, once you get the painting done, the cracks will show through and it won't look very professional. My recommendation is spend some time doing the spackling, sanding, and then washing the walls. You have to wash the walls. It's something I do. Walls, ceilings, everything before you paint it, you got to wash it good and get all the dirt off, because you don't want to sandwich the dirt between the primer and the wall, or the paint and the wall. You don't want to sandwich the dirt. This is how I clean the ceiling. I have a foam brush and I rinse it out in a pail of solution. And this makes it go a lot faster. If you use a sponge, it takes a lot longer to do this. You can kind of see I've actually coated this with newspaper. You can use cloth, you can use plastic. This is a closet door. I have sealed that. There's another one on the other side that I've also done the same too. I'm going to also show you, kind of walk around and kind of show you everything I had to do to, it's not completely done, but you can see there, I've also done that from top to bottom. You can also see this door, which I covered up. You can see the bottom there. On the edges I have masking tape with newspapers, and then I also have drop cloths. You can use sheets that you get from thrift stores. I bought these sheets for about $1 to $2 each. They're big sheets. I keep reusing them for many different projects, especially paint projects. So I have the wall that I primed earlier. I put 2 coats of primer on that one, that particular wall there. You know, multiple areas with tape all over the wall. I had to re-spackle them because I found imperfections. I'm going to have to sand them down lightly and apply a 3rd coat of primer in these areas just to make them look nice. I have probably a total of 30 something pieces of tape marking different areas where I had to add spackles. Here, 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 everywhere my hand is pointing to, I have tapes marking areas where I put additional spackle, and I'm gonna sand them down lightly, and then I'm going to reapply primer in those areas. I use rollers to cover most of the wall. It's a lot faster than using a paintbrush, but you always make sure you don't come all the way down. You come and leave a little bit bare area here so you can touch it up with a paintbrush. You do that on all corners. Like here, I couldn't get the roller in here, so I'm going to use a paintbrush here. And so you cover the walls with the roller. It's a lot faster, but in certain cases, there are certain parts of this wall that need a second coat, which I will again do with the roller. But the paintbrush is needed for all the edges, corners, edges, the top surface. Right up here, I will need to coat this all with a paintbrush. The roller, like I said, is for the rest of the wall. You should actually keep a little cup of water with a rag, so if you get paint on surfaces you don't want the paint on, you can wipe it off. If you don't wipe it off within the first few minutes, it's going to go hard and you're going to have to either repaint over it or do something else. But I would recommend you keep a little cup with water in it and a little rag, a wet rag that you can touch off the paint as soon as you touch areas. Like the ceiling is white, I don't want green paint on the ceiling, so that's what I do to get that paint off as soon as I accidentally touch the ceiling.